I'm going to sound like a broken record, but allow me to say it again. Vision is personal. Vision is not a reserve of a few people, a few individuals who are quote-unquote visionaries. Of course, there are some guys with stellar visions, all right? They are so big and so huge. When you are in their presence and you hear them talk, you start looking around like, what are they on? What have they smoked? Kind of like J.F. Kennedy telling people to go to the moon. Right now we take it for granted, but telling people to go to the moon when the technology to go there is not even discovered, and go to the moon and come back safely. There are guys with stellar vision, so to speak. However, that does not mean that the rest of us do not have vision. And I want to talk about that in this episode today. I want to bring this into perspective because we're talking about 3 things about vision. And we are still on the first thing. The first thing about your vision is to know it. How do we do this? Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Life Signatures podcast with Lawrence Namale. Lawrence is a life coach, author, and keynote speaker who loves to tackle different topics on purpose, productivity, and resilience. His mission in life is to awaken all your boundless possibilities available in you. Life Signatures podcast is dedicated to bring to reality every single person who knows that deep down in their gut, there's got to be more to life than this. And now, here is your host, Lawrence Namale.
Well, contrary to popular belief, this is one thing that we normally are told in the education circles and maybe even in the science arena. People used to think that a child is born tabula rasa. That means that there is a blank slate on the child, and just the world, the environment in which they live is going to paint whatever it is that they want to paint on the soul, the spirit, the imprint, the mind of the child. Now, that assertion is partially true. All the knowledge that you have today, chances are that you did not have that knowledge when you were born, apart from one. And I'm going to come back to that. You know about mathematics because that knowledge came into your life as you sought for it. You know about podcasting because that knowledge came into your life. You were not born with it. You know about science, about geography, about history. You know who the president of the United States is because that knowledge came to you by the process of knowledge acquisition, either consciously or unconsciously. It's just that way. There's one thing though that you came with. You are not born with a blank slate. You're born with instinct. You are also born with vision. Have you ever seen a child mimicking you? If you stick out your tongue, this is a day-old child, stick out your tongue and they do the same. How did they know how to do that? How did they know how to coordinate that? How did that grow? It was inherent. So I'm just debunking the fact that people are not born blank. There are some functionalities, some intelligence that they do have. But there's one more intelligence that is absolutely critical. This one, you came with it. And this one is your vision. Your personal vision. Your unique individual vision. It is not something you grasp or you get here when you are already on the face of the earth. It is something that is fanned aflame, so to speak, as you go on with your life, your personal vision. That's why it is so difficult to find someone with a personal vision of which they are not passionate about. It is so difficult to find someone serving a vision that they consider to be personal, that they are not in love with. Why? Where is the love and the passion coming from? It came because you are designed, or you have been placed. That vision, that passion, that love has already been placed inside of you. It already does exist. You came with it. One can even argue that it is older than you, that it was put inside of you. You're crafted, with it inside of you. For what purpose? To serve a particular purpose. That's why, and I'm continuing to make this point, that's why we resonate to things differently. There's some people who resonate to cars, and I'm not just talking about being a fanatic of cars and this model and so on, but there are some guys who can assemble vehicles and their life is just in there. I don't do that. That is not in my spirit. It's not in my heart. I don't feel it. I've driven vehicles, and some people sometimes they ask me, what is the engine size? What is the chassis? I don't know what. I don't know. I really don't give a damn. I want to move from point A to point B. I'm not so passionate about that. Of course, when I see a nice car and I want to buy those nice cars, the Rolls Royces of this world, the G-Class Mercedes Benzes, I want to ride in those. But that's as far as the passion goes. But there's some people whose passion is just deeper than that. Why? It's because vision is personal, it is unique, it is on an individual basis. All of us have vision. But there are three things about vision that I've been discussing. These three things, number one is to know the vision. And we are not even exhausted that. Maybe we're going to exhaust that in the next episode. How do you know this vision? There are two things we've already discussed. The first thing is that you've got to be someone who is looking for it. Vision is to be sought. Vision doesn't come to you when you're just seated doing absolutely nothing and you're apathetic about life. There's got to be some active seeking, conscious seeking. There's got to be some hunger for it inside of your life. And every one of us has that. In life, this Tony Robbins tells us that there are some 6 psychological needs that we have in life. One of them is certainty. Another one is uncertainty. There's growth, there's love, there's contribution. Where do you think contribution comes from? Contribution is the desire for us to give to humanity, to serve. And contribution is connected to vision. So we've got to, number one, we've got to learn to know what our vision is. But how do we know it? We've got to be seekers of the vision. We have to search for it. Like we said, you search for it like it's for hidden treasure. But then number two, you've got to directly ask for it. That's what we covered yesterday. I don't want to belabor it. Ask for it. Very many times, even those guys who you call yourself unbelievers, you want to normally make prayers. What do you normally ask for? If I can only get that girl. That is a prayer. Do you know that's a prayer? If I can only get that girl to be my wife. If I can only get that car. If I can only get that job. If I can only. And the list is endless. How about you say, if I can only have a personal vision? That is directly asking. And those of you who are believers, you normally pray, God, give me a breakthrough. God, give me money. How about, God, give me a vision. Give me this one pure and holy passion. Give me this one magnificent obsession. Give me this one glorious ambition to know my vision, to know why you created me, to know why you set me in place, why you set me in motion in the first place. So you ask. But then today I'm going to discuss something interesting. It's akin to what I've been talking about, the knowledge that we have and so on. The third way of knowing the vision for sure, it is to let the semblance or the hints of the vision that you have in your life, because you're not born tabula rasa. It is there. It is there somehow. You are gravitating towards it one way or another. That's why when you, even in the rudimentary way, when you're doing school, you have career choices. Why do people gravitate towards? There's a friend of mine who has a brain to become a doctor, engineer, and all those things, and even lawyer, and had the grades. But this lady chose to gravitate towards education, something that very many people in Uganda look down upon. Education. Why? That's the vision, that is the essence that was put inside of her by the divine. And she's running a startup that needs a lot of money, and she's just hand to mouth, but she's still with this vision. Why not do something else that generates income? The answer is vision. My point is that you need to let the vision, the semblance of the vision that you have, number 3, let it simmer, right? Cook on it, wait upon it. In other words, gravitate towards that thing that you're passionate about. How do you know your vision? Look at those things that you are passionate about, you're gifted on, those things that they really make you feel at home, give you some kind of love energy as you're doing them. Gravitate, lean into them, gravitate towards them, let it simmer, let your life simmer around them. The worst thing we see in life is people are gifted or they are passionate about one thing, but they spend 70 years doing the opposite, doing something else. How do you know your vision? You know your vision by letting it simmer and letting your life gravitate towards it. Do you feel this education thing? Let it simmer. You might not see the results, and that's the same. That's what happens with vision. You're not going to see the results of vision tomorrow, or at the end of the month, or maybe even at the end of the year. Sometimes it's going to take 5 years, 10 years for you to see a semblance of it. So let it simmer. In other words, do life, yes, but don't neglect the semblance of your passion, the semblance of your giftings. Where you feel your life is gravitating towards, don't neglect it. Create an environment for it to thrive. Create an environment for it to grow. Lean into it. Let it simmer. Give it some time. Many people do not download the vision because they think it is too small. It doesn't matter. It doesn't count. And I've talked about this in some episodes prior. That is just too big, as compared to other people who have too big a vision. Mine is just too small. It doesn't matter. Please know that when you are starting, vision is not something that is an appendage. You know what an appendage is? It's something you add on. It is not part of the whole. It is an addition to the whole. It is not seamlessly flowing out of the whole. Vision is not an appendage. Vision flows from you, and when you are beginning, you can become oblivious of it. When you're beginning, it can be something so small. Probably you're just passionate about writing. Did you know, in that passion of writing, you can create a university for writing? And that's big vision. But then you can look down upon this vision or this passion for writing, and you see, no big deal. I need to go to work in a bank and so on. And you neglect this and you don't let it simmer. In so doing, guess what you're doing? You're killing the vision. So be faithful to the small things, small semblances, small embers, small sparks of vision in your life, and give them time by letting them simmer. And as you do that, this vision thing grows on you, becomes bigger and bigger. It's basically like growing a taproot, right? It keeps growing and growing, or any kind of roots, by the way. They keep growing and establishing themselves, a big network of roots over the years. You don't see the roots growing. That's the thing we never see. You never see mango trees roots. You don't see them. You just see the mango stem, and you see the flowers, and then you see the mangoes. You don't see the roots. You only see a semblance of the roots on the surface. But if you were to have some kind of microscope, some kind of gadget you can use to look below the mango tree to see its roots, you will be shocked at the vast network of roots that has been built. Simmering is what happened. That's what you need to do with your vision. Once you keep letting it simmer, you keep growing the vision and you keep knowing it to such an extent that someone cannot detach you from it. Someone cannot tell you, but you guy, what are you doing? No, the roots are so deep inside. The only thing that tests the authenticity of your vision is your heart. And in your heart you'll find semblances of the vision. So it does go through a space of time for it to really mature. So if you want to know what your vision is, look in your heart, and those things that you're passionate about, start letting them to simmer. Do it on a conscious level. And in so doing, at one point in time, you're going to come to that level where I call the aha moment, the convergence moment, where your vision becomes unquestionable to you and you're able to jot it down. How long does that take? That is totally dependent on you. Tomorrow, we close this mini-series in the series where we're talking about 3 things about vision. Remember, we are still talking about the number 1 thing about the vision, which is to know it. How do you know it? Number 1, seek it. Number 2, ask it. Number 3, let it simmer. Bye-bye. A special shout out to my mentor Jeffrey Howard of Visionary Business University, found at mastermindmentor.com, who has graciously provided me with the soundtrack and the introductory track to this podcast. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you for listening to Life Signatures Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to Life Signatures Radio on iTunes, Stitcher, or visit our website at lifesignatures.libsyn.com. Life Signatures Radio, fresh, clean, and inspiring.